Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we're taking on something huge. We are completely demystifying Tajweed. We're going to break down the science, the art, and the literal physical mechanics of how to recite the Quran with confidence, clarity, and most importantly, absolutely zero guilt.
Look, let's be real for a second. If you've ever tried to perfect your recitation, you know exactly what the struggle feels like. You sit there staring at the page, your tongue tied in 1,000 knots, just wondering if you're ever going to get it right. Honestly, I have to ask, do you ever finish your prayer, say your salams, and then suddenly break into a cold, secret panic because you think you might have accidentally changed the entire meaning of a verse by mispronouncing one single letter? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. It's like the universal guilt of every Arabic learner. Okay, let's dive into this, because understanding the science behind these mistakes is literally the first step to finally fixing them.
So the scholars of Tajweed actually categorize our mistakes, which they call lan, into two distinct types. And just knowing this is going to save you so much anxiety. On one side, we have lahun jali, which are the obvious mistakes. Now this one is serious. This is when you swap a letter entirely, like changing a soft ta for a fivita. That actually alters the meaning of the word, and it's something we absolutely have to work hard to avoid out of deep respect for the text. But on the flip side, we have lan khafi, the hidden mistakes. These are really just beautification errors. So maybe you missed a nasal buzz or you didn't hold a vowel for quite long enough. And look, while we definitely want to perfect these to maintain the pristine transmission of the Quran, they don't actually change the foundational meaning. So seriously, take a deep breath, let go of that paralyzing guilt, and let's actually learn the physical mechanics of getting it right.
To get this right, we kind of have to become linguistic tour guides of our own anatomy. We are talking about makharij al-huruf, the exact exit points of Arabic letters. The Arabic phonetic system uses 17 specific articulation points, and they're distributed across 5 main areas of your mouth, throat, and nose. And honestly, if you don't know where a sound is physically supposed to originate, trying to apply all those advanced rules later is basically impossible. So let's look at the map. First up is el-halq, the throat. And if you're an English speaker, well, this is where the linguistic gymnastics really kick into high gear because we just do not use these muscles in everyday English. So, in the deepest part of the throat, right down at the vocal cords, we have the sharp glottal stop of the hamza and that deep ha. Moving up to the middle throat, things get really interesting. We have the ein, which is created by squeezing the epiglottis. It literally sounds squeezed. Then you've got the sharp whisper of the ha, kind of like a sigh of relief but with actual friction. And finally, at the closest part of the throat, we have the gain, which honestly sounds exactly like you're gargling water, and the rough, scraping kha. It is a serious vocal workout. Moving up from the throat, we arrive at the absolute master of pronunciation, the tongue, or al-lisan. This single organ contains 10 different articulation points responsible for 18 different letters. It is unbelievably complex. The deep back part of your tongue gives us the heavy, explosive qaf and the lighter kaf. Then the middle of the tongue rises for what's known as the Josh group, jim, shin, and ya. And the tip? The tip is basically a crowded traffic jam of 12 different letters bouncing all over your teeth and gums. But it's actually the side of the tongue that holds the ultimate challenge.
Now, what's really fascinating about this specific letter is that it is so uniquely challenging and so beautifully distinct that the entire Arabic language is famously nicknamed the language of the dad.
So, what is the big secret to this infamous letter? Well, the dad is produced by pressing the sides of your tongue, either the left, the right, or both, against your upper molars. The massive trap that beginners always fall into is trying to use the tip of their tongue. If you use the tip, you're just going to make a heavy D or a Z sound. That's not it. It's a heavy, elongated compression on the sides of your mouth. Once you master that, congratulations, you've conquered the hardest letter in the language.
All right, now that we've tuned up our vocal instruments, I want to pivot here and give you a massive, incredible shortcut. Because reciting correctly is only half the equation, right? Understanding what you're actually reciting is what brings the whole thing to life. So if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of Arabic vocabulary out there, prepare to have your mind blown.
Just look at this distribution. Arabic is built on a root system, and our source data reveals this stunning 80-20 rule. Learning just 300 to 500 Arabic root words unlocks comprehension of 80% of the entire Quranic text. The remaining 20% of the text is vast, for sure, but that core 80% is incredibly repetitive.
You don't need to memorize 10,000 separate words to start feeling connected in your prayer. You just need to learn these core roots. Let's look at the numbers right here. The word Allah appears over 2,600 times. The root for Rab, meaning Lord, appears over 980 times. The root for kufr, or disbelief, pops up over 500 times. Yom, meaning day, over 400 times. By just memorizing a handful of these incredibly high-frequency words, you'll instantly start recognizing phrases on literally every single page of the Quran. You can start doing this today, and it will immediately transform your relationship with the text.
Now, once you've got the letters right and you're starting to grasp those root words, Tajweed shifts from being a strict science into this breathtaking art form. It becomes all about the rhythm, the flow, the musicality of the recitation. And this flow is governed largely by rules like mud, which means elongation, and ghunna, which is this beautiful nasal hum.
The most foundational of all these rhythmic rules is mad asli. This is the natural two-beat elongation of a vowel. So the crucial point here is that this two-beat stretch is literally the heartbeat of Quranic recitation. If you ignore it or if you just clip it short, the recitation gets all rushed, choppy, and mechanical. It completely loses its divine rhythm. You really have to give those vowels their due time to breathe.
And what's really cool is that the rules of Tajweed are highly contextual. They actually shift based on what's happening around them. Take the rule of thinning, for example. The majestic name of God, Allah, is usually pronounced with a really heavy, grand lam. But if it's preceded by a kasra, which is a phonetic vowel that pulls the mouth down and lightens the sound, like in the phrase Bismillahi, the lam in Allah completely transforms. It becomes light, frontal, and sharp, just to match the vowel that came right before it.
And our source materials highlight this stunning linguistic metaphor hidden right inside this phonetic rule. The very name of God changes its sonic texture based on the context of what came before it. It's this profound reflection of how the believer's state shifts in relation to the divine. So you see, the rules of Tajweed aren't just dry, boring mechanics. They are deeply tied to the spiritual meaning and the sheer beauty of the revelation.
Okay, so how do we actually master all of this? I mean, we know the theory, we know the articulation points, we know the rhythm. But reading about riding a bike is definitely not the same as riding one, right? It takes practice. And our sources outline some incredibly practical, thoroughly modern, and I'm not gonna lie, slightly bizarre secrets to perfect your recitation at home. Yes, that includes technology and stuffed pandas. Let me explain. First up is the expert recording loop, and this brilliantly illustrates how we can use modern tools for a very ancient science. Step 1. You listen to a master, someone like the renowned Sheikh al-Husari. Step 2. Pause. Seriously, don't just read along with him. Pause the audio. Step 3. Recite the verse yourself out loud. And Step 4. Hit record on your phone. Record your own voice, and then play it back to compare it to the expert. Now, I know, hearing your own recorded voice is a universally cringe-inducing experience. We all absolutely hate it. But here is the science behind why you have to do this. Your brain is actually wired to ignore your own pronunciation mistakes while you're speaking. It genuinely thinks you're doing it perfectly. So if you're just practicing by speaking out into the void, you're probably just solidifying your errors. By recording yourself and listening back, you break that mental filter and you finally hear those hidden mistakes you've been making. It is absolutely mandatory if you want to improve. And here is my absolute favorite piece of advice from the source material, the stuffed panda method. If you want to truly master a new Tajweed rule, you have to teach it. Explain the mechanics of the dad to your sibling, break down the gunna to your child, or, if nobody is around, literally sit down and earnestly explain it to a stuffed panda. Because teaching forces your brain to organize the information clearly, ensuring you've actually internalized the concept rather than just rotely memorizing a textbook definition.
Let's move on and see how all this practice builds into a really beautiful metaphor shared by one of the Tajweed instructors in our sources. They described sitting in class for weeks, staring at their teacher, completely unable to grasp the corrections being given to them. They said it felt like standing in front of a blue door that simply would not open, no matter how hard they pushed. But the barrier to mastery isn't a lack of intelligence, it's almost always a lack of connection, patience, and repetitive practice. You just have to keep knocking on that door.
Because ultimately, all of these rules, the throat gymnastics, the phone recording loops, the vocabulary root words, none of this is just academic. We are striving to recite the Quran exactly as it was recited by the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When we listen and repeat, we're partaking in the original, eternal method of transmission. We are physically connecting our breath and our voices right back to that wondrous day in the cave when the command first came down, recite in the name of your Lord.
And that is the ultimate goal, to beautify the text with our voices and truly connect with the divine. So, I'm going to leave you with this. Which of those high-frequency 80-20 root words are you going to learn right now? And who or what stuffed animal are you going to teach it to today? Get practicing, banish the guilt, and enjoy every single step of this incredible journey. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.